Neighbor called the cops on me for trespassing, then I found her gazebo built on my land. What would you do if a neighbor accused you of trespassing on your own property, only for you to discover they'd secretly built a permanent structure on your land? The old oak tree stood as a sentinel on the edge of my property, its ancient branches providing shade to the quiet creek that meandered through my backyard. I'd bought this quaint cottage in Willow Creek with its generous, wild plot of land precisely for that sense of untouched nature and privacy. Leo Maxwell, a quiet graphic designer who preferred the company of books and birds to people, found immense peace in tending my small garden and observing the local wildlife. My property lines were meticulously surveyed and clearly marked, extending well beyond the creek. Then came Karen, not with a friendly wave, but with the blare of a police siren. I was merely trimming some overgrown bushes near the old oak, well within my established property line, when a patrol car pulled up, lights flashing. Out stepped a young officer, looking bewildered, followed by Karen Dubois, my next-door neighbor. She was impeccably dressed, clutching a designer handbag, her face a mask of furious indignation. "Officer," Karen shrieked, pointing a trembling finger directly at me. "This man is a menace. I've told him repeatedly to stay off my property. He's always lurking, just beyond that creek, disturbing my peace. He's trespassing, officer. Arrest him." The main conflict, absurd and infuriating, was laid bare. Karen, armed with her baseless accusations and an almost pathological sense of entitlement, was calling the police on me for being on my own land, while simultaneously attempting to expand her perceived territory. Her demand was not just unreasonable, it was an outright assault on my property rights and my privacy. Her attitude reeked of self-importance, believing her personal delusions superseded legal boundaries. I tried to explain to the officer, my voice calm despite the rising frustration. "Officer, I assure you, I am on my own property. My deed clearly states my land extends well beyond this creek, to the old oak tree. I even offered to fetch my survey maps." Karen, however, merely scoffed, interrupting me. "Officer, he's lying. That creek is clearly the boundary. His side is a wilderness. My side is manicured perfection. He just wants access to my beautiful views. I've had to put up with his wild garden and his wildlife for too long." Her tone was condescending, her eyes holding a glint of perverse pleasure, as if she enjoyed exercising her perceived authority. The officer, clearly uncomfortable, advised us to resolve it amicably, suggesting a joint survey. The next day, a registered letter arrived from Karen's lawyer, a cease and desist order, threatening legal action and daily fines if I dared to step within 20 feet of her side of the creek. Karen openly boasted to other neighbors about how she was putting that eccentric recluse in his place. Then, her audacity escalated into a direct, shocking act of physical encroachment. One morning, I woke to the sound of construction. Peering through my window, I saw a crew, directed by Karen, building a large, elaborate gazebo directly on the other side of the creek. It was a beautiful structure, clearly expensive, designed for lavish outdoor parties. My heart sank as I watched them pour concrete, cementing the structure into the ground. But then, a chilling realization hit me. The gazebo wasn't just on the other side of the creek. It was inches past the old oak tree, deep within what I knew to be my own property. It was an act of blatant, irreversible land theft. Right after seeing the gazebo built on my land, a crucial twist unfolded from an unexpected source. Old Mr. Henderson, my elderly, observant neighbor across the street, a former county surveyor with a penchant for meticulous record-keeping, shuffled over, a dusty roll of blueprints under his arm. He'd been watching the construction with growing unease. "Leo," he rasped, "I knew something wasn't right. That Dubois woman is always pushing boundaries." Took out my old survey maps. "See here." He unrolled a faded, official county plat map from 1952, meticulously detailed. It clearly showed the true property line, extending far beyond the creek and encompassing the entire area where Karen's gazebo now stood. "And look," he added, pointing to a barely visible, ancient survey marker buried near the oak tree, covered by years of leaves. They built right over this. Intentional, I'd say. The larger consequence of Karen's actions became terrifyingly clear. The land where the gazebo was built, though small, was a crucial natural spring and historical indigenous pathway, recognized by the local Native American Tribal Council as a sacred site. A small, rare species of fern, vital for ecological studies and almost extinct, thrived around that spring. Karen's concrete foundation had not only damaged the spring, but also threatened the last remaining patch of these protected ferns. Her petty land grab for a party gazebo had directly desecrated a sacred site and jeopardized a critical environmental conservation effort, elevating her personal arrogance to a matter of profound cultural and ecological significance. Armed with Mr. Henderson's irrefutable survey maps and the furious support of the tribal council and environmental groups, I didn't just call a lawyer. I called a press conference right in my backyard, ensuring the local news crews were present. Karen, radiating her usual icy confidence, came out of her house, dressed as if for a garden party, clearly believing this was just another of my eccentric displays. "Mr. Maxwell," she purred, waving to the cameras. "I trust you finally decided to welcome everyone to my beautiful new gazebo. We're having a housewarming brunch today." She smiled, a predatory gleam in her eyes. "Actually, Karen," I retorted, my voice steady and unwavering, amplified by the news camera's microphones. "You're having a housewarming brunch on stolen land." I projected Mr. Henderson's 1952 plat map onto a large screen, clearly showing the gazebo illegally built on my property. The news crews started murmuring excitedly, their cameras zooming in on the discrepancy. Karen's face contorted in disbelief, then pure, unadulterated rage. "This is outrageous. A forgery. That old man is a lunatic. This is a malicious attack on my character. He's just jealous of my success," she shrieked, desperately trying to manipulate the situation, her voice shrill and breaking. She started waving her arms wildly, trying to block the cameras. Just as her tirade reached its peak, the hum of approaching vehicles filled the air. Not just Sheriff Lewis, but also a representative from the Bureau of Indian Affairs, BIA, and surprisingly, a stern-faced, renowned environmental law attorney who specialized in land rights cases, looking absolutely grim. The BIA representative spoke first, his voice resonating with authority. "Ms. Du Bois, the Tribal Council has formally requested an injunction. Your construction has desecrated a recognized sacred site and destroyed protected flora. This is a federal offense." The environmental law attorney stepped forward. "And Ms. Du Bois, not only have you engaged in blatant property theft, but we have also documented multiple instances of your illegal dumping of construction waste into the protected creek and the use of unpermitted, highly toxic pesticides on your property that have contaminated the local water table. We have a class action lawsuit pending for environmental damages from other affected neighbors." A nervous murmur rippled through the gathered neighbors as one elderly woman stammered. She told us the new organic pest control was safe. "It killed all my bees last week." It was a chilling revelation. Karen wasn't just a land grabber. She was systematically polluting the environment for her own convenience and profit, her manicured perfection a toxic facade. A past incident, whispered among the older residents, revealed that Karen had been previously fined heavily in another state for illegally filling in a wetland area to expand her backyard. The consequences for Karen Du Bois were immediate and utterly devastating. She was arrested by Sheriff Lewis on multiple charges, including felony trespassing, destruction of protected cultural sites, environmental pollution, and later, as the full extent of her toxic practices and illegal land grabs were uncovered, for multiple violations of state and federal environmental laws. The gazebo, that symbol of her arrogance, was immediately ordered to be demolished at her expense. Her carefully cultivated image as the benevolent community matriarch shattered into irreparable pieces. The neighbors she had once intimidated and poisoned now turned on her, furious at being manipulated and having their health and property jeopardized. Her social circles, built on an illusion of wealth and influence, abandoned her completely, unwilling to be associated with such public disgrace. Her vast fortune, her status, her perceived power all consumed by crippling fines, lawsuits, and legal fees. She lost everything, her freedom, her fortune, and her reputation. The ultimate irony was that her petty attempt to claim a few extra feet of land for a party gazebo led to the complete unraveling of her vast, toxic enterprise. As for my property, the gazebo was indeed demolished, the land remediated, and the ancient spring flowed freely once more. The tribal council held a small, private ceremony to bless the land, and the rare ferns slowly began to recover. I, Leo Maxwell, found my peace again, even deeper this time, knowing that justice had prevailed and the land was safe. The satisfaction was immense, watching her literal and figurative empire crumble, a quiet triumph of truth and nature over greed and arrogance. What's your take on this? When someone's audacity and disregard for law lead them to destroy natural heritage and sacred sites, does their complete and utter downfall truly serve justice? Or is there a point where the consequences become too extreme?